What's going on YouTube? West Hobbies RC. So today we are back with the Blade Infusion 180. So I said in my flight video that I will make a separate video on what I have done for this model. So we have a stock Infusion 180, the way it came out of the box. So the two things with this model. Now I know this is being addressed and will be fixed with the future models, and it's just this early batch, and you know, stuff like this happens. When models are put to market and mass produced, things get overlooked, and sometimes parts can change different parts and so on and so forth, but stuff happens. So this is a fix for it, and it's a great model. I really enjoy my Infusion 180. I fly the crap out of this thing and I really like it. So the number one thing that we have to look at is if you have a vibration with a high head speed, look at the head play. Okay, so if you grab your model, and you'll notice, this one has it, that the entire head rocks side to side on the main shaft. Now that is caused because the head block is a little too big, and I mean a thousandth too big. Not that it's wrong, that it's just that it's not tight. So what's happening is as the head speed gets higher, the head is shaking and it's creating a vibration, and you can adjust cyclic gains all you want. It's not going to fix it. So we're going to fix that, and I'm going to show you how I fixed mine. And I just use a simple piece of heat shrink. And the second thing is the gain adjustment, which we'll go over that too. So let's start by getting these blades pulled off. It's a simple 1.5 millimeter on both sides. So take your blade grips off, or your blades off, and then you're going to take your bolts out here. I find just taking them off here is better. You can pop the links off the swash if you want to, whatever. And then let's get and this is a 1.5 millimeter, and you're going to pull your main Jesus bolt out, take your head assembly off, and we'll go. All right, so we went ahead, got the arms off, we got the blades off. And this is what I was trying to show, is if you grab your head block, you can see that it wiggles side to side. Okay, and that little bit of wiggle you wouldn't think is a big deal, and at low head speed it's not a big deal, but at a higher head speed it's going to create a vibration, and that's where your vibration is coming from. So if you have an Infusion 180 and you're getting a vibration at high head speed, it's because of the head block on the main shaft. So we're going to fix that. So again, just go ahead, pull this 1.5 millimeter, everything on the head is 1.5 millimeter. Pull your feathering or your Jesus bolt out and pull the head block off, and you'll really notice it a lot without the bolt in, and that little bit is all it takes. So we're going to pull it off, and now we're left with just the main shaft and no head block. So we're going to do this. Freight sells this little heat shrink kit. I believe it's around $5. Okay, and I always keep a kit like this on hand. I buy 2 of them at a time, and the reason I keep this kit is because of the different sizes. So on your heat shrink, I use the 3/32, which is going to be this size. Now if you don't have the kit, you just need 3/32. The kit's cheap. I highly recommend picking one up and keeping in your drawer. So we are going to take a piece of this 3/32 heat shrink, and we just need a little piece. So we're going to grab a piece, and we are going to cut it off to about this long. So we're going to cut it off about this long, which is roughly 1/4 inch long. Okay, and we're going to trim it later. So you're going to have a little piece of 3/32 heat shrink, 1/4 inch. But as you can see, the 3/32 heat shrink is too small to fit over the main shaft. Now we can go to the next size up, but then the problem becomes it doesn't give a good bond. So what I do is I take a little pair of needle nose and just carefully stretch the heat shrink. Just a little bit. We just need it to fit over our main shaft. Okay, so we're pretty much there. We can stretch it a little more. We just need it to stretch a little bit more. Okay. And now our heat shrink will fit nice and tight over our main shaft, which is exactly what we want. Now we just want to cover the bolt hole. So as you can see, we have covered the bolt hole. So now for video's sake, I'm going to use a lighter to do this. I usually use a heat gun, but it's noisy. So now we are going to spin the motor by hand and shrink this down. And then we're gonna have that little bit of extra. Little excess is okay. So now we're just gonna cut that off. Okay, So now you'll have something that looks like that. Take an X-Acto knife, some kind of sharp knife, and cut the hole open for the Jesus bolt. So now you have your hole. Oh, sorry, I can't see that. Now you have your hole here and your hole here. So now it's just as simple as grabbing your head block, and you're going to want to align your holes up, and you are just going to carefully work this because the heat shrink can move, which we've seen it moved a little bit, and that's okay. You can spin it. I've noticed too helps. Spin it up, and it's going to push down a little bit. That's all right. We can come back and trim the excess off. We just need a tiny bit inside the head to create a shim. So now go ahead and run your bolt through. Get it to go all the way through and tighten down. Snug it down good. Now you will notice no play. Now the whole helicopter is rocking. So we just needed that little tiny bit of heat shrink. You can make it a little longer, and you're gonna come back with an X-Acto knife, and you can just trim the excess heat shrink off, so that way it doesn't interfere with the swash plate. Okay, and then just go ahead, cut your excess off of here. Now your head should look like this with a little tiny piece of heat shrink, and the most important thing, zero play. So now go ahead and reassemble your grips. Not your grip, yeah, your blade grips. So what you're gonna do here now, I'm not going to put any glue on this, but I recommend you could put a drop of CA. So after you get your screw through, I would recommend putting a drop of CA on the plastic threads when you tighten this down, because you can't use Loctite on plastic, but CA works great and stops any screws from coming out. And you don't need much, just a medium, little tiny drop of medium CA, but the feathering shaft is bent on this one, so we will be pulling the head back apart. Okay, so now our head is completely reassembled, and we have zero slop. Very tight head now. So now let's throw the blades back on and move on to the radio part. All right, so we got the model plugged in, everything's working. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna go into, now this is only if you are having tail problems and it's not holding right or the tail's acting erratic. If you find your helicopter and it flies perfect, you don't need to do any of this. So on an IX series, you're going to go to model adjust, and you're going to go to forward programming. So whatever radio you're using, NX, IX, DX, go into forward programming. You're going to see this menu. Now make sure you are in hold mode. You need to be in hold mode for forward programming to work. So now, first thing that I would like to touch on. You need to turn safe, stability, auto level, whatever you want to call it. It needs to be turned on. So you're going to go into safe. Go into stability, and down here, now we're in normal mode, so you can see this is normal mode, idle up 1, idle up 2, which they're calling hold. So you're going to go into normal mode, and you're going to click on it until it says on. So now we know it's working. Now we're in idle up 1, it's off, idle up 2, it's off. Normal mode, it's on. Now this is if you want auto level. The last two blade models that I've done, the Infusion 180 and the Fusion 180, I've had to do this. I leave it off because I don't really care for auto level, but you can turn it on. So always check that when you first bind your model, or if you're asking yourself, why isn't auto level working? I feel like auto level is not working. That is why. So now go back to your main menu. Okay, we're gonna go to swash plate, or gonna go to tail rotor, tail rotor. And now these are the gains that I am running. And it's an 80, 40, 80 in normal mode, 80, 40, 80 in idle up 1, and a 60, 50, 80 in idle up 2. These are where I have found, as well as another gentleman, I think your name is Todd, sorry if I didn't get that right, but we both talked back and forth. These are the gains he was running. I was pretty close. I tried the same gains he was running, and it's pretty good. I want to adjust a little more. It's not exactly where I would like it, but it is there. So if you're having tail problems, go ahead 80-40-80 in normal mode, 80-40-80 in idle up 1, and 60-50-80 in idle up 2, and then adjust to your liking from there. So now that's all that I did on mine, and you guys seen the flight video. I have put quite a few video or flights on it since that video, and as well as Grandpa flew it the other day, and it was great. So honestly, I really like this model. Blade did a fantastic job on the design. Yes, it did have an issue, but again, it's a new model. That stuff is bound to happen. Now, if you notice, this is a different one. I got to redo my heat shrink. I made it a little long. I want to cut it off, but this is my second one. The first one that in the beginning of this video was my first one that we did for the heat shrink in the head. But as you can see, head is tight. So those are the two things I recommend you doing on your Infusion 180 if you are having issues with it. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Quick little video just describing what I have found and how to make this model fly fantastic. Guys, hit the like button, subscribe, take care, and have a great day.